All right, everybody. Coach Beth at Viking Vitality. Welcome back, and let's get this party started. So I'm going to start out right now going into this with telling you that I don't have a specific plan. As a coach, I will say that this is not a good idea. You do want a specific plan with specific actions to get to where you're going. But in my experience and in my opinion, the only thing worse than not having a plan is to take no action and just keep thinking about stuff. So let's go. All right. So I am starting the carnivore experimentation as of right now, and I may adjust this as we go through these videos. I am looking at something of a ketovore type of diet, at least for the foreseeable future. All right, my current diet is mostly paleo oriented, so mostly whole foods, but we do have our pleasure items. So I won't stand here and lie to you and act like I never have any pleasure items. We do have alcohol in the house. I have experimented more recently with homemade ice cream because my husband and I have gotten into a habit of getting ice cream more frequently because it's hot and hey, sugar, right? Nice little treat when you're under a lot of stress, which we are both under a lot of stress right now, just in our lives in general. But aside from just knowing that ice cream is bad for you, I started looking at the ingredients and I started to see all the colors and I got real not okay with it. So homemade seemed like a possible better alternative, right? All right. And also going into this, this was kind of like most decisions that I make, I am thinking on it for a while and then all of a sudden I decide I'm going to do it. Now, in this particular case, it's not optimal for me to just drop everything and make this change, especially with the stress going on in my life. So, here we go. So, the first thing I felt like I should do, trying to move into this diet, was to figure out what we have here at the house in terms of foods that I need to get rid of or get through or stop eating, so on and so forth. So I checked the pantry and the fridge and the freezer this morning. I did not get into the spices. If you watched the previous video, some versions of the carnivore diet cut out all spices with the exception of salt. All right. So I did not get into the spices, but I went into everything else. And what I was looking for were things that are specifically mine, that are for me, that I bought for me to eat, that my husband will not eat. And then I looked at things that are more for us that, we would both be working on, or, aren't necessarily things I can just push fully off on him, okay? Because he is not doing this with me, and that's okay. This is just a notation for it. So I went through the pantry, I made my list, and I'm going to go over it briefly with you so that you kind of see what I did, and then if you decide to do this for yourself, maybe this will be a useful tool for you, okay? So things that were mine, I went in, I listed what they were, I went back and figured out how I'd use each one of them and made a note as I knew what I would want to do with them. All right, so I have some teas in there, all right? Tea is not allowed on the carnivore diet typically because it is plant-based. Also, a lot of teas have oxalates in them. I'll get into that in another video, but coming back, so I have teas. Oxalates stay lower in teas like black tea and whatnot by doing a sun tea or cold brew version. So rather than boiling the water, that keeps the oxalates down. So I will continue to do that until I decide maybe I don't want tea going forward. And then if we get into the winter time, I could still kind of like sun brew the tea and then maybe heat it up as I want it. An idea. Not sure how that'll go yet. All right, so I have some teas in there. I have a pound of local honey. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet. I'll probably just have a little bit of it each day until it's gone. I have some Ceylon cinnamon. Again, all of these are non-carnivore diet approved things. So in terms of me working through them, I'll put the cinnamon in my Armor Up coffee until it's gone, or until I find that the cinnamon is actually giving me some problems, in which case, maybe I'll give it to someone else who's still using it. And I have, we'll come back to it later, but I have a little bit of steel cut oats left in there, and I'll use it in the oats. I have ginger powder. Again, that'll probably go into oats until the oats are gone. I don't have a lot, just a little bit left, and honestly, the next time I try the oats, I'm going to see how I feel energy-wise and everything, and if I'm not feeling good, I might just, all right. I've got 2 cans of chickpeas. I'm going to slowly work through those. I'll just eat them straight. They're ready to go. I keep organic coconut oil. That I'll just be using in my Armor Up coffee, and I plan to keep using that unless I get to a point where I want to cut it out just to see if it makes a difference, and then go from there. I have some avocado oil. That'll kind of basically just be reserved for some cooking because there's not a whole lot to use it in. When you move into one of these carnivore diets, things kind of get complex for a little while until they become simple, because you cut out a lot of stuff, but I'll save that for another video. I have some rice vinegar and balsamic vinegar. I'm going to try them and see if I like them on anything, and then if not, I'll just kind of give them away to somebody or what have you. Moving into the refrigerator, I've got some coconut flakes in there. Not sure what I'm going to do with those yet. They're unsweetened, so I have an aloe drink, so the drinkable aloe. I'm going to keep using that until it's gone. I've been using that as an addition for healing the gut, and then once that's gone, my goal is to just stick with the diet and the homemade bone broth that I'm having as well, for gut healing. So that is a goal for myself. I have a little bit of almond butter left in there. I'll be using that in my homemade banana ice cream, I call it. It's not really ice cream, there's nothing in it. Until that's gone, it'll be a few days. And then some 60% cacao semi-sweet chocolate baking squares. Again, that'll go into the banana ice cream. I have some frozen bananas. When that's gone, then the rest of it's gone. There's no more banana ice cream. Some frozen blueberries. I'll eat those straight in measured amounts until they're gone. And then I have some frozen raw ginger that I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with yet. So you can see at least half of this I have a plan of what specifically to do with it. A couple other things I'm not sure what to do with. So I may end up giving them away, or I might have to toss them, or whatever happens. Just because I know that they're not things that my husband eats or has any interest in. And then I get over to the list of our stuff. All right, so bear with me here. We're going to go through some things, and I'm going to start this out by saying, yes, we eat mostly whole foods. I also make what I would call yum foods, or what people will call cheat foods. That includes our homemade pizzas, where we make everything ourselves. Our homemade nachos, again, everything ourselves except for the chips. I don't make the chips. It's all right. And then we do breaded chicken tenders here in the air fryer. And these are all just much better, much cleaner, healthier alternatives to dishes that people really love. And we also know how to keep it in check with how much we eat. So if that is something that you're looking to keep or put into your diet and you're not going down the carnivore route or whatever, you can always reach out to me, and I'll be happy to tell you how I make that stuff. Moving on. So we have some unbleached flour that will slowly get through with using it to coat the chicken tenders for the air fry chicken. And then honestly, we'll probably make pizza crusts out of that, again, slowly over time. It's not like we're having pizza every weekend. We have some saltines in there. Typically, I use those to bread the air fry chicken. Once those are gone, I'm not sure exactly what I'll do to continue. I may continue to use them, but maybe I won't have it. I might just air fry the chicken with some salt or seasoning or something and nothing else on it. I haven't decided yet, but we'll be working through that. There's some coconut flour in there. I found a recipe to make some tortillas. I'll be able to give that to my husband. I know he'll like that. The pizza yeast is obviously for the crusts. We have sugar, which we use for crusts, and the homemade ice cream for however long I continue to make that, whether I eat it or just my husband eats it. Coconut sugar, same thing. We have some canned coconut milk. I can use that in homemade curry or fried rice type of things. that stuff my husband will eat. A lot of this stuff I'm included on here, but it's typically more like I'm going to make these dishes and I may or may not eat them going forward. We have maple syrup. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet. We have some agave, which we turned into a simple syrup by adding a certain amount of water so that we can make homemade old fashions. We might be able to use maple for that. I don't know. Maple has a flavor. We have wine, scotch, and bitters. Bitters is used in old fashions, if you don't know. As far as the wine and scotch go, obviously these are not carnivore or any variant of carnivore. However, it's one of those things where the variation in your diet is the variation in your diet. As far as what I'm going to do, I'm only going to have the things that I absolutely want, and I'll be paying very close attention to how I feel when I have them. All right, and then we have some diced tomatoes in there, which I can make those into tacos for my husband, no problem. Popping into the fridge, we got a big thing of salsa. I have been topping that on my eggs. I might move away from that or just won't buy any more once we're out. And then of course it does go on top of when I make our nachos. So whether I make them for us or I make them for my husband. We got some onions in there we'll need to use up soon. So maybe pizza, nachos, or I might saute them and eat them with some steak or something until they're gone. Obviously they won't be there forever. And they're low on the oxalates. And there's a little bit of A2 milk in there as well. That will either go into the homemade ice cream very soon, or I might make myself some iced cafe latte. So that would fall into a variant of carnivore. It is dairy, usually, they kind of lean towards the cheese, maybe yogurt type of thing, but it is whole milk. So I'm keeping it, fatty and proteiny, like, the goal would be. And then just not purchasing any more unless I'm only making something for my husband. And then we get into the freezer. We have a pre-made pizza dough, which obviously we'll make a pizza out of. Every time we make pizza, I have tomato sauce. I make the sauce. I put a little bit of seasoning in there, put everything on myself. There's always a pound of meat on the whole thing. We'll eat half of it and then have the other half the next day or whatever. So lots of protein, quality stuff. I have little bags of chopped peppers if you've been following along. And those are ready to go for things like tacos, curry, fried rice, nachos. So a lot of stuff that I would be making for my husband and then slowly moving away from for myself. And then we have ginger cakes / cookies, which are an item from Colonial Williamsburg if you ever get out there. And we bought a baker's dozen the last time we were there, so we will slowly eat them, and once they're gone, then we won't buy any more. So that's just going through a lot of the stuff that is not part of the carnivore diet, working through the things I need to work through myself, and then some things where I'm like, I can adjust this so that just my husband can have it, because again, he's not following along with this, because we all do our own thing, which is cool. So this is a nice little approach. If you decide to jump into this, figure out what version of the diet you're doing. Let's start there. Figure out what you have, what you aren't going to eat and either need to have someone in your house eat or to get rid of, or that you're going to slowly get through, or whatever the case might be. Make yourself a list. Make what you're going to do, write down what you're going to do with it so that and then honestly, I do believe that I am probably going to go into the pantry and A, just organize it, and then B, try to organize it kind of by, hey, Beth needs to work through these things, over the next several weeks, and then these are all husband's things, and then these are all things that Beth needs to do something with so that husband can eat them. All right. So I hope this was helpful on getting you guys started, and I will see you on the next video. Have an awesome one.